Hey everyone. Okay, so this is probably going to be the last video I make for, I don't want to say for a while, but let's say I think it's going to be one of the last videos. This video is for black people. So if you're black, this is for you. If you're not black, it's not that I'm not talking to you, but there are going to be some things I just don't want to have to explain. I want to have a more of a direct conversation. I mean, there is not that many black people actually considering going to Albania, so I don't expect many people to even watch this video. But this is going to be like my experience with being black in Albania, racism, ideologies, beliefs, safety for women, just like everything that I could possibly think of to talk about being black in Albania, and also sharing my personal experiences and thoughts, and then hopefully giving like some tips or observations that can help other people. Like I wrote maybe, I want to say 2 pages of just like bullet points, so this video might be longer than expected. I apologize. You can hit ×2 to make it faster, or give it a listen when you have nothing to do. Okay, so let me get started. The first thing I want to do is first define black, so we can all have this basic definition as defined by the U.S. government. So according to the U.S. government, a black person is a person having origins in any of the black racial groups in Africa, which it doesn't really mean anything, because biologically race is not a thing. I think we're all aware that it's a social construct, but I just want to put that out there because I know there are some people who don't believe it's a social construct. And at the same time, I know it is, but it has real life consequences. Like if you say you're black and you put that on a certain type of application, yeah, you might not get that job. Like it plays a role in our lives heavily, where that it's real shit, even though it's a construct. But I just want to say that. And then the other things I want to get out the way really quickly are just the difference between race, ethnicity, nationality, where race is like how people view your body, how you appear, how you present. Your ethnicity is where you're from, or where your people are from in your culture. And then the nationality is just like your citizenship or legal status or belonging to a country. And so the first topic that I've talked about, I feel like at length, but I'll bring it up again. You can see this topic in other videos, is racism in Albania with the N-word. The one thing that I really try to emphasize is that people here are very, very ignorant when it comes to American culture, African American culture, and African American, I don't know, vernacular English, I think that's what they call it now, right? AAVE. So when they hear the N-word, why am I saying N? When they hear the word nigga in a song, right? They just take that as, what's up, my nigga? Oh, this my nigga. Like it means friend for them, like bro. That's how they interpret it. Of course, not having access to the language. And also, I'm not excusing ignorance, because it only takes a fucking second for somebody to go on ChatGPT and ask the history about this word. But at the same time, who is really going on ChatGPT asking for, like, help me understand what bro means, help me understand what mate means? Like, just like, you can do it, but if you don't know why you're doing it, there's no reason to actually go further and look into it. That's one of the things I want to say. So like when you hear the N-word, like, again, it is a very offensive word. I'm not saying that it's not offensive, but looking at the intent of the person who's actually saying it, and I know impact over intent is more important, but as an adult, you should be able to try to control your own responses. That's what I'm getting at. So I look at the people's intent, because like if a white person in America says nigga, that's like a whole different thing, because in their head they already have the background story. Like they know what that word is, they know how offensive it is, they know how it's going to make you react. That's the reaction that they actually want to get out of you. There's like all these demonic aspects of when they say nigga to you, versus over here, when a white person says nigga, it's from like, what's up, my nigga? It's more so, I see you're a foreigner, I think this word means like bro, or that this word will make us bond closer, so I'm going to say it to you, because the reaction I want to get out of you is like a smile or some type of rapport building. So it is, again, the same word, and in our minds it's equally offensive to us, but I just try to look at the intent of the person, because that can completely change the direction. Keeping in mind that everyone is ignorant. Again, it's not an excuse, but everyone is ignorant. I'm ignorant. You're ignorant about something, because you might go to Japan, you might do some shit and have no idea that's offensive to people. And it is what it is. It's just a moment of ignorance. You don't want somebody in Japan, start swinging on you, getting upset because they're like, oh, this person, I don't know, came into my house with their shoes on, some shit like this, right? Going into the types of racism that I see existing here, again, it's more ignorant. It's not really violent. I shared in another video an example of one violent case that I knew of, and I think that was a rarity. It's not something that ever happened. It's not something that I would ever be concerned about or go too deep in, because I think it was just a one-off random ass case with somebody who was not mentally well. And mentally well people, I mean, honestly, there are more people who are mentally well in the US than here from what I have observed. There's no systematic racism here. Again, unless I feel like if you're probably like a Roma or Egyptian person, this because they have an Egyptian community here, like a Roma or Egyptian person, then I would say, okay, you might face some problems because like you guys have a shared history of living together and how they view each other. But we don't have a history of Black people, African Americans, and Albanians living together. They don't have that history with us to have some like preconceived notions. I will say, because now that I'm saying this, there was a group of Africans living in the very, very north of Albania, Ulcin, that were integrated. I don't know how true this is, so you can look up for yourself, but from what I heard, it was like a slave ship went there, and then these people were in Albania, but the Albanians integrated them because they didn't believe that the people should be slaves, but treated as guests. Something like this, but there's like a whole community. That's what I heard. Do I believe that? I would say 80% of me believes this just from hearing that. In terms of, let's say, xenophobia, I haven't experienced this too much. I do recognize that the impact of foreigners coming here, like what that has in society, especially like, you know, peaceful, small villages, like by the beach, and how, I don't know, tourists behave here. Not every tourist is respectful. That's the other thing, is that sometimes people come here like, oh, this is a party city, or they'll come here like, oh, look at this cute little underdeveloped country. I can treat it however I want. Like the fucking Dutch people did when they came here, when I think Feyenoord was playing. They were acting like monsters in the city. Like the Dutch people were behaving like monsters. I could not believe it. It was just so, it was ridiculous. Anyway, going on, because I feel like I talked about the N-word like a lot. So again, you might see the N-word graffiti on a building. I would say if I heard it 100 times, maybe 2 of those times it was meant with ill intent. Not very often. I remember somebody else added me in a video, some other Black guy was like, this is the most racist country I've ever been to. I understand why he says that, so I'm not going to deny his experience. But he said, he goes, they learned this word from their parents. And I'm like, okay, this is where you're absolutely wrong. Like the old people here, they don't know the fucking word nigga. Like where are they going to hear that at? They only listen to like traditional music, talava, I don't know. So it's not like something they're learning from their parents. They're clearly learning it from the internet, from us. Like we are the source and they are drinking from our fountain, and they just pick up the word nigga with some other words as well. And you know, that's what the whole Gen Z people are doing anyway. It's like the internet language is just Black. It's just how we talk, and then they just steal it. But we all know this already. Okay, something else I want to talk about is my ideology of identifying as African. So obviously I'm Black. So when people, like in America, growing up, you know how like you be in school, they'd be making all them jokes, calling people African booty scratchers and whatnot, which is an insult I have not heard in fucking years. But like there's always a divide between Black people and Africans where we see ourselves different. But here, like outside of the US, like in Europe, most of the Black people in Europe are from Africa. So it's only normal, okay, let me say, or maybe the Caribbean, depending on the country. But like everyone is African over here. So people, when they see me, a lot of the times they assume I'm African first, and that's okay with me. Like, I think in America, I'd be like, no, what are you talking about? But here, it's become so normal where when I meet some people, sometimes I'd just be like, this also, I'd be lying too, because I don't want to give my whole background story. I'd be like, yeah, I'm African. I'm from, I'll say like Nigerian blood, just because I know my sister did her 23andMe, and it was like a quarter Nigerian. So I was like, okay, this is the most I got from any place, so I'm just going to say this to people. Or I pick a different country. It doesn't fucking matter. But I did notice that when people here ask where you're from, it's simply to know what country you are from, like where you born and raised. So for example, this one girl asked me, where are you from? And I told her, I was like, okay, she probably wants to know like what part of Africa. So I said like, I don't really know because of slavery. She goes, no. She goes, you're from America, so just say that. And I was like, oh, okay, this is what you meant by this question. So sometimes you get that. Another way, when people might ask where you're from, because like in Albania, you are from the place your father is from. So my dad is from South Carolina. So technically when I'm talking to people, I should be saying I'm from South Carolina, because that's what some people mean as well when they ask where you're from. So just keep that in mind. Like if you're not aware of like the things that happen in the culture, you might hear this question And you might take offense when people are like, oh, where are you from, like this. But you just have to be, learn as you go, I would say. The other thing I wanted to point out would probably be the aspect of religion and the black community. Because, of course, I grew up a Jehovah's Witness, but like everyone in my family, I would say, is probably Christian. And I feel like religion has a chokehold on us. I've become a lot less religious than being here. And thank God, the one thing I love about the Albanian people is that they put their people first and they put their religion second, whereas every person is Albanian. And then after that, they have their secondary identity of whatever faith they follow. And that's something I wish we would adopt in our culture, where everyone is black first, and then you can be Christian, then you can be Muslim, atheist, whatever you want to be afterwards, but be black first and have the interests of black people first. That's personally one of my beliefs where I think we all need to just be agreeing with each other. Another one of my beliefs that I developed over the time while living here, maybe just having like realizations, because when you're in America and you're black, you're kind of surviving. But over here, I'm not surviving in my blackness, where I can take more time to just think and reflect, because I don't have to have the same responses that I would in the US. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's what it feels like. So one of the things that came to my realization, especially after talking to my father on the phone, was that freedom cannot be requested, it has to be taken. And that's what I realized. I'm like, okay, in the US, we protested peacefully, which is nice, but I don't agree with that. Like, I like Martin Luther King, but I like Malcolm X a bit more, just because I do believe that if someone tries to use violence on you, you should use violence towards them back. I definitely believe that we should never have... You see how France protests? The French people, they fuck shit up when something happens and they want to get something done. They become a hive and they go and they attack. And that's how you get shit done. You can never ask a question and say, oh, please give us equal rights. You do that, and what do? They redline your neighborhoods. They cut funding from public schools. It's something that you have to take aggressively. And the part that gets me so pissed off is how people, like, when they hear somebody say something like this, like, you should use violence back, you should fight, you should do X, Y, and Z, they love to put morals on black people, but then they never put those same morals on the people that are oppressing them. So when I say shit like this, and I hear somebody's reaction, and they're like, oh, no, that's not really right, you should be peaceful, you should be compassionate. And it's like, no. Why is it fair that this person gets to put their foot on my neck, and I have to have compassion for them? Why can I not put my foot back on their neck? Do you not think I deserve to? Do you not think I'm an equal? Do you not think they deserve to get what they had coming? When I say that, I just mean like, let's say the institutions at hold. I'm not going to say anyone specific, but you know who they is. It could be an individual person that's upholding the system, or it can be the system that's already put in place by the people, or the system itself. I don't know. But like, that's definitely one of the beliefs I have now, is like, you cannot ask for anything peacefully. You got to fight like how Haiti did in the revolution. One of the other things that crosses my mind when you're being black and living abroad is the feeling of never being black enough. And I think that's a feeling, you hear these, what that girl call herself, a quadroon or something like this, or like you hear like mixed race people say about never feeling black enough, but like not feeling black enough is a universal black experience, at least in the US. Like, no matter where you are, there's always this competition of who is the blackest. You can be a dark-skinned black guy, you can be a light-skinned black guy. The color is irrelevant, but it's more so, it's getting at how much do you fit into the community, how much do your ideologies match with the hive. And again, that's something that, not only for black people, for any community that you live in, that you're a part of, this will always exist, some competition of who can be the most like how we all think we should be. So it's not just a black thing, but I'm talking to us. So this feeling like you have this, like when you're so, myself especially, when I'm so far removed from the culture, like when I talk to black people, maybe I talk to the same 10, 15 people, and it's always on my phone because these are my friends and family back home. But like, I miss being in black environments where it's like everyone is black, we can all dance, we can all have a good time. We all have a mutual understanding of how to behave and what manners we want to follow, and the order we want to do things, and the budget that we're on. Like, there's just, I don't have that type of atmosphere right now. Maybe it's possible, but I definitely do not have that type of atmosphere. And I would say, the only things I have that when I feel real black, it's just like anything related to music, because like I love our fucking music, like I love our dancing. Like I was in the house earlier this morning getting lit, Harlem shaking, as I was supposed to be exercising, like this type of stuff. Like those are the moments I have to myself where I'm like, yeah, I still got it. But like other than that, in my daily life, there ain't no. I mean, okay. Let me say this: there are more black people here in Albania now than there was before. Because when I first moved here, I could go easily 3 months without seeing another black person. Now, when I leave my house and I go into the center, it's crazy. I'll see like 5 of us a day, which is wild. That would never happen before. Okay, one of the other things I wanted to mention was being black and gay here in this country. It's very strange because, like, again, I was in the Netherlands and Belgium before this, and Albania is the place where I've met the most LGBT African Americans in Europe. The most I've met have been here. Maybe it's a coincidence, I don't know, but like I had a whole like friend group. There was like 5 of us, and I was like, this is crazy. Like, why are we all here right now? Of course, a lot of them left, but that's what I've noticed. There are some of us out here, which is very, very surprising. At least to me, it's surprising because like this doesn't seem like the go-to country. I wouldn't recommend this as the go-to country for a black LGBT person. I would recommend somewhere like, you know, the Netherlands, but we out here, don't know how. The other thing I want to mention is dealing with other black people here. This is, I don't know how long this part's going to take, but like, of course, we come in different colors and flavors, and there's different types of us. The one thing I will say, the first archetype of black person that I'm happy I do not meet is a coon. Like, I'm so happy we don't have no coon ass niggas out here. And when I say coon ass niggas, I'm thinking about Candace Owens, because she's the number one. I don't know why I'm always mentioning her when I say the word coon, but Candace Owens for me is the representative. When you look up in the dictionary, is her face right there. So I'm happy we don't have. I've never met one here, so that's very good. Most of the black people that I've met here, especially African Americans, they've been real chill, nice, calm people. Typically, I would say, yeah, most of them have been well traveled as well, like have lived in other places, which is also really good. So they're not coming here like this is the first country they've ever been to. They've enjoyed the country as well. They've had good experiences. The ones that are living here have liked it. The ones that have left, you know, obviously have left, but there are people like me who have stayed. And the other thing, so I want to get into a little conspiracy theory with y'all. So hear me out. I haven't formulated this idea completely, but like, you know, the head nod, like the what's up, I acknowledge you, I see you, you see me, this head nod. So in the street, when I was doing this to everybody, every time I see a black person, no matter what it is, like old lady, young lady, male, female, even if it's just like the teenage boy who plays soccer, like every black person I see, I give the head nod. I acknowledge your presence. Like, this is what I feel like you should be doing. But I noticed sometimes, like there was this one black girl, she was walking towards me. She was with, I think, 3 or 4 white girls. It's one street. She looking towards me, I'm looking towards her. I know I see her from a mile away. She sees me. But you know, you don't want to make eye contact too much when you're walking up to somebody, like you just staring at them until you get close enough to say hi. That's fucking weird. So obviously I'm going to look away for a bit. We reach, you know, maybe 7 feet. I'm going to give the head nod, say hi, and say smile. Give us enough chance. If you want to stop and talk, we can talk. If not, we can keep it going about our day. So we get to that point, that 7-foot point, right? And she doesn't make any eye contact, and she just, I can see at the 10-foot point, she pulls out her phone to like show somebody something. I said, oh, she's definitely avoiding contact. And so I started to think, I'm like, why does this happen sometimes? Now, granted, I will say, when you have been rejected too many times and given the head nod, you stop giving the head nod yourself, because that's where niggas at right now. That's me. Where I've given so many head nods and been rejected by people, I'm low-key stopping the head nod. I don't do it all the time anymore, because I'm like, I'm tired of this rejection. Number 2, you can be like an introverted person or very shy, and it's too much. You're on vacation, you don't want to engage with people, you live in a place with a bunch of black people, so you ain't trying to see no more. I can understand this. But here's the third part. This is the theory that I have. I think these people are a bit uncomfortable in their blackness, where that if they say hi to me and I say hi to them, they have to acknowledge that they are black. And I feel like that makes them uncomfortable in an all-white space to acknowledge, hey, I'm black. Because like when I say hi to, like, let's say I'm with like some like Albanian friends, another black person walks by, we say hi, the Albanian's like, oh, do you know her? I'm like, no, I just acknowledge them. But maybe in their head, people that don't do the head nod, they don't want everyone else to also acknowledge that they are black. That's my conspiracy theory. I don't have any proof for this. You can let me know if anyone has listened to this point in the comments if y'all also think that's the case, but that's what I feel like it is. The other thing I want to say is that the one thing I have noticed when dealing with other black people is that sometimes our American mentality carries over to being over here in a way that's not always beneficial to living in the country. So again, I can use the example of racism, but there's other things as well. When you think things should operate a certain way and they don't, and then this causes discomfort because you're applying American rules to a foreign country. Okay, so like for example, I was trying to think of one, so I paused the video. Here's an example that something that could happen. So I don't want to say it's in the culture, but like here, niggas cut in line all the time. Like there's generally not never, but like sometimes there's not really a line. It's more just like a crowd just standing outside, and everyone knows who's after who because you can remember who came last and who was last. That's like outside the bank when I'm waiting, but like in the supermarket, that kind of happens a little bit where it's not really like a direct line. And old people love to fucking cut in line, and that's just like a common thing. So maybe you might be in line, and then an old person walks in front of you, and you might interpret that as, oh, this old white lady's walking in front of me because I'm black. She thinks she can just get away with it. Because in the U.S., if that happens, absolutely that might be the case. But here it's just like they're old, they're not being considerate of anyone else, and they just think they have the right to cut. And they would have done it to you, they would have done it to somebody else who was younger as well. It's not a personal thing, but what I'm trying to get at is that sometimes we can take our American logic and apply it to the people here, and that's, again, it's not beneficial. It does not help shit. It doesn't help you experience the country well, and you have to go in more with an open mind or a blank slate, observe things as they are happening, and then try to figure out why, rather than seeing something happen and then say, okay, this is why it has happened. Okay, one of the other things I want to mention is that, I'm sorry for the background noise, that shit is always going on here, is how our culture is consumed. It is consumed massively, like the genre, just hip-hop, R&B, Afro beats, because we all black. I'm combining all of us here in one group together. Sorry if I say African Americans, just because that's what I am, but when I say black, I mean, I'm talking about all of us from the diaspora, like, you know what I mean. So like we are cool. So you have like Afro beats, whether you have like that Latino music that has, you know, African origins in it. Like our music, we are cool by the default. Like that, it is what it is, and that comes with some positives, but it also comes with some negatives. And I do want to also acknowledge the fact, like when I say we are cool and that our media is being consumed, I do know that people want to rap about our problems but never help with our problems or realize our problems themselves. Like it's a double-edged sword. But like I try not to think like that, and I try to treat everybody as an individual, because I know on a broad scale, yes, this is happening. People, you know, are rapping about us, and then we'll call black people the N-word and mean it in a racist way. Like these type of people definitely exist, but not every person is like that. So sometimes, again, treat everyone like an individual, because sometimes when you meet people, they might try to say something about your culture or use your culture as something to bond over. And it's not to necessarily be racist. In America, okay, that's one thing, because white Americans are just different. And also, like when I say white, most of the time I'm talking about like white Americans, or people who like are white countries that have, you know, been into colonizing others. Like that's what I mean when I say white. When I say white, sometimes I mean Albanian, but I don't always mean Albanian. But the example I was going to use is, let's say you meet somebody, and then they say, okay, I'm a black guy. So the first things that they want to talk about is, let's say, hip hop, maybe basketball. I don't know shit about sports. Maybe they ask about recreational stuff. Like they're just trying to say something to build rapport with you, because that's all they know from us, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's like how, like, when I meet another person from another country, like if I know how to say a word in their language, I'm gonna say it. So like I know I watch anime. If I meet a Japanese person, konnichiwa, nigga, like I'm gonna say that to them, and they probably have the same problem that we have. So we're not the only ones, by the way, that have this issue where the world loves our culture and they love to consume it, but they don't actually want to go deep into everything that's about us, or you know, what we've gone through. And that's okay. Like it is okay for people to be ignorant. Like, not everyone has to know everything about us. It would be nice to be consumed and appreciated and understand like the backstory, like that would be nice. Like I feel like a very intelligent person will do these type of things, and honestly, those are the people who I would try to hang out around with most, like those who are informed and appreciate, rather than those who just consume and are anti-black in their thinking. I don't fuck with these type of people. I don't like that shit. And overall, maybe one other things I wanted to add was that living here in Albania, again, like I always knew this. I think maybe I should explain like not how black I am, but you know, like we're all different. But like my black experience in the U.S. was growing up. Okay, born in Manhattan, right? Then we moved to Rochester when I was a kid, so I was still very young. So I did all my schooling in Rochester, New York, upstate. And I went, you know, inner city. So everybody in my school was black. Maybe there's a couple of white kids. I'd say 30% of that school was Puerto Rican, perhaps, as well, because we had a lot of Puerto Ricans living over there. Neighborhood, everyone is just black. My church, or Kingdom Hall, everyone was black. So being black was just, like, I don't know, everyone was just black, so it was just normal. And then I moved to the suburbs around middle school. And that's when I, like, also, like, the church became maybe, like, 70% white. The school was definitely at least 70% white. So that was, like, my first time being around white people, and I really noticed the difference because I was being treated differently. Like, before, I never had any instances of, like, I mean, maybe some microaggressions that I didn't really realize because I hadn't been interacting with white people enough to understand the things that they do passively, aggressively. But then I got put onto that shit, and I was like, oh wow, like it's different. Like you get treated different. The comments that are made are different. Also, you're interacting with kids, and kids are always rude. So that's another thing. But that's the experience I had, was just like being black, and then like having to deal with my blackness and learning how to navigate it. And then I want to say, let's say from 18 to 23, going back and forth between the U.S. and Europe. So like my black experience in the U.S. has kind of stopped at 18, so I have not had to do all of the like adult life stuff in the U.S., such as, you know, taking out loans or the car insurance, or, you know, going for like house hunting and shit like this. I have not had to do that in the U.S., so I have zero experience on that. But I just want to say this, and also let me add, I gotta mention my parents too. So again, my mom's from New York, my dad's from South Carolina. Both my parents are very pro-black, which I'm blessed to have, because I can only imagine what it's like having Candace Owens as your mom, like, and having her teaching you about black shit. Like, that has to be terrible. Like, my parents are very, you know, aware. I think if my mom was not a Jehovah's Witness, she would probably be the type to have a black Santa in the house. That's like the level. But, you know, of course, with Jehovah's Witnesses, they don't do that type of stuff. But that's the type of black that my family comes from. But I would say that in high school, I had to acclimate a lot. I changed the way I spoke like crazy, because I realized that, oh, y'all speak real different than how I was speaking before. And I was getting corrected all the time. I'm like, damn, nigga, chill. Let me talk. And they're like, oh, it's actually, you should say, I can't think of a word right now, but y'all know what I mean? Like, he has gone instead of, like, he has went. Like these are the type of examples. Just people getting on your ass and policing your speech for no reason. I had to deal with that shit, and I didn't like that. And so I had to realize at some point, let's say here in Albania, like when I was able to like settle and not live in that survival state, I was like, oh yeah, my existence is very, very political. I don't know why I didn't realize this before, but like I had a conversation with my partner, and it really helped me realize, I'm like, yeah, my existence is political. But at the same time, not every situation is political. I want to, you know, put that in there. Let me circle back to the thing I said about Let me circle back to the thing I said about Albanians not being white. So when I said, like, so obviously they are white. They're European. They're like the OG Europeans. I think at least one of the oldest three places in Europe are found here in Albania, in Pogradec. So like the European, they definitely are white. But the thing is, when I say white, according to, let's say, how America and Europe has defined white, it's more of a class thing. So they don't behave like they are white, because the whitest thing you can do is oppress somebody, like by definition, like having some type of class system where you're at the top and others are at the bottom solely based off skin color. They are not that type of white here, so I do consider them white. But like, I don't consider them like American white because it's not, they don't have that same type of mentality where they think, okay, because I'm white, I can treat everyone else like shit, or everyone else is beneath me, or I'm superior because I'm white. Now, they may think they are superior because they are Albanian, but that's more, they base it on their ethnicity and they don't base it on their race. Whereas Americans, they'll be like, you have an American who's, let's say, with ancestry Polish, I don't know, Irish, whatever, and they'll think they're the superior race just because they are white, not based on their ethnicity. One of the other beliefs that are things that I started to realize while living here in Albania is just the fact that capitalism does not benefit Black people. I'm going to explain why really quickly. It's just because the whole system started with slavery, where Black labor was making white wealth. And that system was designed to exploit us. It was not designed to help us. So I don't think capitalism is our solution, because it needs a lower class to survive. And that the other thing that I realized is that wealth does not equal power when we don't control anything. So when I say we don't control anything, I mean like production, laws, or having like a bunch of land. And also, every time we try to like make some shit in America, you know how I think there's at least 50 cases of like cities or towns being violently uprooted by white residents, expelling us into wherever, or like burning down our towns or flooding them. So every time we try to do some shit like this, they fuck it up anyway. And you know, when I say they, y'all know who they is. Maybe it's the CIA, maybe it's the FBI, I don't know. I'm not that much of a conspiracy theorist, so I'm going to get into it. But if it was, I would not be surprised. But that's one of the other ideologies I've just, you know, when I'm sitting here thinking about what it means to be Black and my experience in this world, that's one of the things I definitely think about. One of the other things that I think about sometimes, and this is based on a comment that I read, where I mentioned that when I explained to Albanians the severity of the N-word and like how offensive that is, and I use an example in their language to show them that when you say this, it's basically like you want to fight somebody. I do this to people, not everyone, but to some people. And someone said, it's not our job to educate people or educate white people. And I agree with that. It's not our fucking job. And that shit is tiring if you got to explain to if I had to explain to every single person here about something ignorant that they've done, give me a penny for every time I've done it. And I'll probably have hundreds of pennies, but like not that much. And I don't believe in showing compassion to all people. Even though I think some people might think I believe this, I definitely do not believe in showing compassion to all people, because I believe in reciprocity. So like the energy that they give, you should be able to get back. Now, you don't have to. You can, you know, choose a peaceful path, which I try to do most of the time, but it's definitely valid when you return or give that same energy back or that same level of ignorance back. I think that's completely fair. But at the same time, I definitely acknowledge that I am ignorant myself, and that it's not other people's job to educate me either, but I'm still going to be ignorant. Like, no matter what country I go to in the world, because I've never lived there and grown up there, I'm going to be ignorant of the cases or of the things that will happen. An example is, this is a light example. One of my friends came to America. We were inside Rite Aid. She's from Europe, and she went to pay. And so she takes the money and she puts the money on the counter and not in the person's hand. And then my other friend was like, oh my God, I'm sorry, she's from Europe, she doesn't know any better. Because, you know, you put money on the counter, that's kind of rude when someone's hand is out. It's like disrespectful. And so that's a custom that we have in the US that other people don't have. And again, it's not our job to teach them, but like in that moment, that's a learning lesson. Like when is the best time for them to learn? It's like in that moment when they make a mistake. And again, it's not our job, but if I was being that ignorant, I would appreciate it if someone corrected me in that moment. So for me, it's not a problem to correct other people when I realize that they are okay with being corrected, because you know you gotta fill it out as a case-by-case thing. But I definitely can understand if you are the type of person who does not like being corrected in the moment, because maybe it makes you feel uncomfortable, I don't know. I can understand why you would also not want to give that to other people, but that's essentially what I tried to do. Take it a case by case, base it on let's say what kind of respect do I feel like they want to show me. And also, one of my other beliefs, I definitely believe that respect is earned, because I know in our community, we have the idea of respecting our elders. I think the Gen Z people are getting rid of that, or the Gen Z kids are getting rid of that, which I'm very much grateful for, because I don't believe we should be respecting people just because they're elderly, just because they have a position like president, prime minister, police officer, doctor. Okay, maybe doctor. Okay, doctor's a little bit different, but like, you know, I'm thinking doctors and firefighters, people in the ambulance, like people who like save lives actively. I'm gonna put them in a different category. But like the average person, we don't have to respect anybody for shit, because it definitely has to be earned. But at the same time, I don't think we should be treating new people based on how old people have behaved towards us. I'm going to say that again because I think it's very important, is that I don't think we should be treating new people based on our experiences with other people that we've had in the past that look like them or that seem like them, because again, everybody's individual. We don't know them for a can of shit. But when you correct a person, you can kind of get to know them because you can see how they respond to that correction, and that lets you know how much energy you should put into it. Again, but if this is like a passing interaction on the street, who the fuck cares? Because that interaction only goes on for the time that you engage with it. So someone says, oh, what's up, my nigga? You keep walking down the street, in 30 seconds, you're 30 feet away, and then it's over. And you can keep that in the harbor and let that, you know, eat you up inside, or you can just let that shit go and say, oh, this nigga's ignorant. Like, he doesn't know what he's saying. Brush it off your shoulders, you know? The other thing I want to mention is safety. I do believe that this country is relatively safe, even though I mentioned that one incident. I know the other incident of the Kenyan girl who was here, which I don't think was race related, but more, I don't know, some sketchy corruption shit, because that got no coverage in the news. But I generally think it is a safe country. I personally feel safe, like, walking around at night. Like, there's no issues with, like, gun violence. I'm not concerned that people will attack me because I'm black. No concerns like this, no matter what part of the country I'm in. I feel personally that I would be helped more because I'm black, where if I went up to anybody and asked a question, they'd be like, oh, we have a visitor, let me help him out. I feel like I could probably approach anybody, even the police officers here, even though fuck the police, that's how I personally feel. But if I wanted to and needed to, I feel like I could approach them. But the other thing about safety, I would say, is this is the type of country, if you fuck around, you will find out. So I caution anybody who wants to date Albanian women, I would just say be careful. Ask her who her family is. Be aware of how involved her family is, because let's say she got a brother who's very much like, I'm not with that shit, you could have some problems. Or even like talking to girls in the club. I don't know how you guys do it. I don't have that issue talking to girls like that, so I'm not the one to give the best advice. But I would just say, I would just be a little bit more cautious than I would in the U.S. because of family ties being so close here, or people knowing people, because you never know what could happen. The other thing I would say, like, for safety, is always keep some hood niggas as friends. Like, keep them in the cut, in the back pocket, like on WhatsApp, on dial, on Instagram. Like, just always, I think in general in life, no matter where you live, you should always have some hood niggas just like that you're cool with, just because you never know what life throws at you. You need that. That's my personal belief. I said what I said. I'm sticking with that. The other thing I would say is that, again, like the slightly of the racism thing, people saying the N-word, because again, that's the worst that happens here. Nothing that really affects my day-to-day life. Racism really affects my day-to-day life, I would say, except in terms of like how people interact with me, and it's generally positive, where it's maybe more attention or more kindness or something like this. But there are more instances of people saying, hello, my friend, hello, bro, what's up, bro, hey, my friend, like more positive, random people or strangers talking to me on the street and engaging with me correctly than people saying the N-word. Like, I feel like for every 100, like 98 people will say like something positive. Sorry, no, that was for the N-word. Let's say, actually, let me rephrase that number. I would say it's probably, no, actually, I think that would also probably be the same. Like, if 100 people talk to me in a day or in a month or year, I think 98 of those instances would probably be positive and 2 would be negative. Like, maybe one of the worst things I've heard, this would maybe touch on xenophobia, was I was on a bus and some old man was talking about how in communism it was better because there weren't like foreigners here. And that was a conversation a comment he just made out loud, had nothing to do with me. I mean, technically it did have to do with me, but I didn't care. It's just words, and that shit can roll off like water sometimes. The other thing I want to talk about is black women here and harassment. So being a black woman here, again, I'm not a black woman, so I can't speak on this 100%, but from the ones that I've talked to, I can kind of share their experiences, and also based on what I've seen for women in general, is that I do think, oh, this is hard. Like, I've noticed that when black women here come here and they have a bad experience, and when they talk about it online, everyone defends the the person who is hurting them, and they don't defend the victim. Like, victim blaming is a huge thing that I've noticed here. Even in some cases where I've seen, like, I remember watching the news once, this is a bit off topic, and there was like this 12-year-old girl who was having like a sexual relationship with some older guy, I don't remember who it was, and they were all like talking about it like it was okay. Now the journalist was talking about it like it was okay, and like in the description of the video, it was saying something about how like the psychologist said like nothing was wrong with it, and there were some people like blaming the girl, saying that she wanted it. It was something so crazy. Now again, this does not reflect the way the average population, the average person here thinks. It does not reflect this at all. But just the fact that I was able to see something like that be on the news, that was shocking to me. That was very, very shocking. So like I was saying, in the comment section for a lot of black women, when they experience, say, harassment or anything like that, catcalling, because catcalling is definitely a fucking thing here. Like, you'll have men going, like, making noises like this and saying shit and making comments on the street. As women, I mean, that happens in all countries, but it definitely happens here. And I can understand that when you're a black woman and there are no other black people that look like you, and that happens, it's a different experience when you're in like a city with other black people and you're getting catcalled by a white-looking guy. But as the only black woman, you might feel more alone with the catcalling. Some girls ignore it. Some girls take it to their advantage. Like, oh, you want a catcall? Okay, let's talk. But yeah, I do think if you're a black woman traveling here alone without a man, then the catcalling, you can probably expect that. I don't think you'll have many physical interactions, but definitely people talking to you. Maybe some guy who's like a fucking retard. Sorry, I forgot we can't say that word anymore. A fucking idiot. He might come up and, you know, try to talk to you, low-key stalk you or keep following you. That can happen also with food delivery guys. I've seen them before. Take the phone number of the black woman who they're delivering food to, and then sometimes like pass by the neighborhood or text them. Like, this shit happens to black women here, because they're often seen as something sexual. Like, especially if you're a good-looking, fine-ass black woman, yeah, you about to get talked to a lot, because people are going to see you as just like an object of sex. Like, that happens, absolutely fucking happens. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. As a black man too, as well, I would say people will sexualize you too. That happens. Especially if you're good looking. I don't want to say it's normal, but for the good looking people, it is what it is. I don't think you can avoid that in any country. If you're a good looking black woman, men will always want to have sex with a woman that looks fine. So I don't want to say it's Albanian specific, but I definitely have noticed here that when it does happen, the catcalling, the mentality here is more so to blame the victim. Like, that's something that's more common. I've seen that more here than I have in the US, where people are thinking critically about situations. So that's definitely a downside, I would say. Maybe one of the other things I would want to mention, I think I mentioned everything I could think about black women living here. Oh yeah, we also have a hair braider, one of my friends. I gotta shout her out. My homegirl Kelly, from the Caribbean originally, but basically raised here in Albania. She does hair, she does braids, I think she does locks, she does dyeing, like, she does everything. I should actually put her in the description. I gotta give her a shout out to her. So yeah, if you're a black woman, you need your hair done, you definitely can find that here. She has hair products as well that she gets from, I think, Athens, Greece, and has it delivered. So if you need your hair done in Albania, you are set. We got a hairstylist out here. The other thing I want to mention is that, like, when I see like some online comments of like black women dating Albanian men, there's a lot of the comment section saying things like, "Don't mix the blood, keep it pure." And I mean, for some, I can understand how it might be perceived as racist, but I don't think it necessarily is. I think for them, it's very important to preserve the bloodline and keep their race going. And it makes sense because these people have been genocided. They've lost a hell of a lot of their land, and the surrounding countries are constantly trying to eradicate them, constantly trying to get rid of their language. So to preserve that, you literally have to keep marrying in the bloodline. It makes sense for people who have been eradicated to want to continue to exist. I think the same thing for black people applies as well. I don't want to sound like Dr. Umar, but like, logically, like, we experienced a genocide with the transatlantic slave. They were killing us, they were selling us off, they're actively trying to get rid of us. Like in the US, where it makes sense to, if you want to preserve the existing culture, you keep marrying within the culture to preserve that. Not necessarily race, but like, within the culture, I would say. And it makes sense on another level because when you marry in the same culture, you have the same language. There's a mutual understanding that's there that gives you less work than you would have to do being with somebody who is not in the same racial group as you or culture as you. And I would say that the same thing applies for me because I'm in I would say, interracial relationship where my partner is Albanian, and I recognize the difference in cultures, and that you have to be able to take an interest in their culture as well if you're going to be living with them. Like, you should try to learn some of the songs that they like to listen to, some of the dances that they have, some of the foods that they like to eat. Like, you should be actively involved. If that person's in your life and you love them, you should be involved a bit in their culture, or at least try to. And I think it definitely has to be reciprocal as well, because, like, I can't be with nobody that don't appreciate Black culture, like sincerely appreciate it. And I can say my partner appreciates it very, very, very well. Like, that is one thing I can say I'm proud about. Like, he is, I mean, of course, I'm not educating him, but like, introducing him to new shit where I'm like, yeah, you gotta know this. Like, you don't know Lenny Williams because I love you? Come on. You haven't seen every episode of the Boondocks? Come on. Like, I'm out here doing the Lord's work trying to educate. One of the other things I would say that I realized, at least about us, about Black people in general, is I fucking love the resiliency we have. And that's something, like, being here in Albania, I started to just appreciate more, is how, like, we find the funny and the pain. Like, just, you look at the things that we create artistically, just like the music that we have, the entertainment that we produce, the athleticism that we have. It's just like it would be very understandable with the amount of shit that we have experienced for us to want to give up and just say, I quit, I give up, y'all win. But that has never happened, and that's the type of resilience that I personally love. I love that. I think about that every day. I'm just like, damn, we still have not given up as a group, but also just on an individual level. Like, just, we don't stop fighting, and that's the shit I love. But yeah, that's like my whole, I would say, Black ideology experience here in Albania, things that happen, comparing my life. So, like, if you're Black and you're planning to move here, it's not that I would say I would recommend this country to Black people, because logically, it makes sense to live in a country where you have other people who are like you to have the easiest time. That's what it makes sense logically. But if you are looking to have a different type of experience and learn something new, you have to be surrounded by people who are very, very different. And there are some overlap, and I would say, in our cultures and how they're similar here in Albania, but generally this is a very different place. The language is extremely different. The types of dancing that they do, extremely different. Like, the food that they eat, very, very different. Like, you're going to have a very, very different experience. And if that's what you're looking for, and I'm going to call it a challenge, if you're looking for a challenge and also an experience to learn and to grow, then I would say, yeah, Albania would be a very nice place for you to experience that. But I mean, like, it has to be very, very sincere, because being a challenge means it's going to be very uncomfortable for you. So if you're willing to be uncomfortable for a long time, if you're willing to be very, very frustrated for a long time, and you can put up with bullshit, then yeah, I would say definitely come to Albania. Maybe just some examples would be like with learning the language. Actually, this is not going to be the last video because I need to make a language learning video. So I renege on that last statement. You have to learn language, which is a very, very frustrating process. Like, it'll make you have a Britney Spears moment and shave your hair. Like, it's that level of frustrating, right? Or even just figuring out how things work. Maybe, like, when I first came here, I was like, okay, well, how do you take the bus? How do I pay my water bill, my electric bill? Why do I need my passport to get a SIM card for my phone? Like, why are there so many fruits and vegetable stands? Like, how does this work? Why are the vegetables not pre-washed with the dirt off of them? Because here, it's like straight from the ground, maybe a little rinse off, and then like in the vegetable stand, which is very, very different for me. Why does the bread here go bad so fast? Like, there were so many things that I had to learn. Now it's become normal, but there's definitely a learning curve to living in a new place. And honestly, I think us, like, our people, we probably will do best I feel like, in a place like Africa, because there are more people that look like us. And I don't know, I feel like some type of return to the motherland thing is always, it's good for the soul, for the spirit. That's just one of my personal beliefs. The only reason I'm not doing it is because it's a homophobic ass area. So if that, like, if we were, black first and then everything else after, like, if it was like that type of vibe, I would go. But the homophobia for it over there is it's too much, and I need to live in a place where laws protect me. I wouldn't say that Albania is that ideal place for someone like me, absolutely not. But I've already been living here, so to uproot my life after 8 years, that's going to be a little bit of work. But I would recommend it just if you are that type of person, you're looking for something new, you can actually handle it, you don't mind discomfort, you don't mind a little bit of adventure. I can say this, my grandma came here for a whole month. She's from New York, and she's maybe 30, 50, she's 7, maybe she was 70 when she came here. And she came here for a month. She had a good ass time. She enjoyed herself. She would absolutely come back and stay here. Again, older black lady, darker complexion, and she had a good time. Like, and I've met older ladies here as well that are black, and they have a good time. They enjoy themselves here. So maybe I would just say, just speak to other black people who are living in Albania, not those who have been tourists, because I feel like that perspective is very limited. And you can have you can have a terrible vacation anywhere just by having the wrong circumstances happen back to back to back, and you can meet the wrong people and have a shitty experience. But like, when you stay here for a time, you gain so many positive experiences that the shitty ones, they kind of outweigh themselves. Maybe that's the best way I can explain it. But yeah, that's all for here. If you move to Albania, I don't recommend it as a black person, because for all the reasons I just said. But for someone who is like myself, I would recommend it. But I'm also the type of person, like, I don't care. I would move somewhere in Asia next week if I could, just to have that new experience. Or I would move to, like, I don't know, somewhere in Kenya just for that new experience. I would love to do some shit like this. But the budget ain't budgeting, so we gonna stick our ass right here in Albania. So yeah, I'm talking too much. We almost had an hour here. So this is the black experience and all my black ideologies and thoughts from the last 8 years, and how I've grown as a black man in Albania. Because sorry, I'm still talking, but the other thing is that, again, like, it's so strange for me that my black experience, like being 31 and spending 8 years here, is that, like, when I look at, like, let's say my black counterparts, let's say my cousins that are my age, that have never left the US, like this, I know our experience of being black is night and day. And I personally would hope that all of them would be able to have the experience of being black in Albania, so they can experience their blackness in a different light. I don't know, just have a different experience. I would say even, again, it's how they interpret it, but I would damn near say a better black experience, where you don't feel like people are being hateful, or people are just kinder here, I would say. I don't know what the intent behind the kindness is. I can't speak on that, but generally people are kinder here, and I would recommend it to my family personally. But to strangers like y'all, I don't know, I can't say shit for that. But for, like, my family, I would love for my family to come out here, just for even 3 months, just to see, like, what it's like. But again, I'm not trying to promote Albania as a tourist destination. It makes more sense if you're black to live in a place with other black people. Like, you got Rotterdam, you got a decent amount of black people over there. You got some communities in Germany, you got a lot in France. Like, these places make sense logically. So you can, find your foods. Have people who you can relate to the most similarly based on, like, culture. Even if the culture is different, there's still, like, some overlap there. And here it's a lot less overlap that you would have based on, like, lived experiences. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. I hope I've touched on every black issue that I could personally think of. So yeah, that's it. My name is Kivan, and I'm out. Peace.